shit. I was just doing the video, and I just happened to be looking at something online on the device, and something occurred to me recently about people getting, different groups of people who are getting aid from the Biden administration, as far as, certain communities like the Asian community, the Native American community, and they want to help out the immigrants coming from Latin America. And I hear a lot of people don't want to, when it comes to black people, they don't want to do the right thing as far as give reparations to them. And they say, well, what about the black community? And that's true. What about? And it's been going on for years and years and years and years about reparations. And when it comes to African Americans asking for what's just due after 4 or 5 centuries in this country of building up off of from slavery to Jim Crow to redlining and everything else, they seem to be absent-minded. They seem to want to don't want to do the honorable thing as far as African Americans, but just give a little piece of the chunk, but everybody else is getting their half. The Asian community is getting $50 million. They were saying, someone was looking on one report that there are certain Native American Indian groups getting $30 million, and they're going to spend, and the Biden administration is going to spend additional money on the immigrant community. And then it was so to the point that even people who are LGBT community, they're going to get a certain grant of money. But it's something about straight black people, they keep putting it off. And here's my solution. There was a how the children of Israel, and those of you who read the Bible, and they always do this around Easter. I think he's at Easter. I believe it was around Easter, and they always talk about the book, how Moses led the children out of Israel. And they cry for 450 years of injustice. And because during that time they served rigorously in the sun, in the snow, in the sun and in the rain, being sold out to different populations of different people at that time. And when that cry went up into the heavens, it got answered. And while other people was making a profit off these people at that time, including the Egyptians, because the Ishmaelites did the same thing. They took some of the Hebrews in it as a cry, and just like the other groups that have been, but the difference between the other groups then and some people, they got some retribution and reparations for what they received. My suggestion is to my fellow African Americans, I know it's going to sound corny, but maybe you're going to have to just cry out as a collective, cry out to God, and cry out to God against this nation. That one of God's children, people who designed the whole human race, is not getting what just due. And it's almost like, and I know but prayer does work. And when you pray and you speak it and declare, Even there's a scripture that, that God will withhold and hold accountable for those who cheated man of his wages. There's a scripture in there as far as that. So my suggestion is, maybe when you come into an audience and this group of people, you need to put up in the atmosphere and just sit back and have patience. And while all these other nations prosper, persecute you, they're going to pay the price. Simple as that. Because it's just like the children of Israel back then. There were groups of people that came against them, and they paid the price. And even though they see that they were blessed and everything, when anybody rise against God's people, as a collectively, they paid the price. And you don't have to beg, and you don't have to plead. You just pray and announce and cry up to the heavens till God hears your prayer as a collective of one of his people in this earth and in this country and throughout the world. And he's going to deal with these oppressors. He's going to deal with these. They're going to use one of you, but reflect and hide and still and use manipulation and tactics to get and still continually to get off with your blood of your innocent loved ones, as the government put innocent people down, not the ones who caused their own death, but the ones who innocently had nothing to do with it. The only way to get revenge is through the Heavenly Father, and that's what's going to happen. And if black people can pray that prayer over this nation, that the administration don't do what they do, that make the judgment come down on them, just like they did with Egypt, just like the plagues came until Egypt. You know how Egypt was. Egypt was at that time. Those of you who read the Bible, they were stubborn. They did not want to give the children of Israel nothing. They wanted them by their foot. They want them worshiping their God, because they could make a profit off of them. They want to use them as the labor, the entertainers, and put them in the most egregious conditions at that time. Why they live up in palaces, and the Egyptians, and why the children of Israel lived in huts, basically, and probably didn't have the best of commissaries during that time, just like they do now. It's like that's what's about. And it's going to come a time where stop trying to beg and plead. And my prayer is that there will be some men and women of God that will be raised up to speak on it and then cry before the heavens for the Almighty God. Say, Father, it's been almost 500 years. These people do not, you have people like Biden administration don't want to do the right thing, but they're trying to outsource it to other people who clearly they went through their own struggles, but never retribution to the ones who suffer the most horrendous things of discrimination known on the earth was black people. Not only that they were put in slavery, they were lynched and they were castrated, literally murdered and tortured in unimaginable in this country. So, and I'm talking about the innocent ones. So, and they still don't want to pray right. There were people that lost their property. And there was a case they were saying, I was reading how one case in California, they just now, and they don't completely want to give all the descendants of property that people earned. People had land in New York and California and other places. Black people did. They were prospered. They were burnt out. And now, and some of the descendants of those black people who rightfully deserve what was coming to them, this nation don't want to do the right thing, and so they try to make up excuses. But when it comes to other people, they seem to try to dance around. You know, whether you're, no matter what side of the political aisle that they're on. So your last choice is to cry out, just like the children of Israel did, and pray, come into agreement, and come to prayer. And if you had enough black people that would cry out and say, Father, they have not done the right thing by my ancestors. They have every time when just cause used to, they have used, continue to find other ways to not give the African American black people in this country their due, just like other groups of people do. So the next thing to do, since they keep doing that, if there were prophets rise up in that day and speak the oracles of God, and I believe the plagues will go around those who have been oppressed, and it will hit the ones who are doing the oppressing, who is doing the hidden agenda, and people like Biden and other people who continue to push this, and the other nations who stay in agreement with it, they're gonna pay the price. It's coming. It's coming. It's gonna hit. It's gonna boom because of it. And this is not just something that it was. If you talk about eternal God, and there's scientists and evidence that they had to dig up under the ocean floors, the desert floors, to find out yet there was some prosperity here, and that the civilization was wiped out. So it's going to. So to my fellow brothers and sisters, African American, they in for it. They can keep doing these little sneaky, sly little things and make a mockery of African Americans and their death and their destruction, and trying to assist in that have it. But even the ones who have been on the chain that look like you, that have assisted in the thousands of people that's in poverty, and condition them, and never did their retribution to make it right, to help the people who's conditioned, a group of people. And all they did was just give them some little hope and some little toss-on programs. But when it comes to solving a solution as far as finances, what have they done to other people to help them, give them $30, $40 billion, $1 million to fix up their community? So, and I hear black people speaking on it. The next thing is to pray and to prophesize against the nation. Prophesize against those who hold this, who's not doing the right thing, who's keeping conditioning whatever party, whatever individual it is. Speak against that. I mean, you literally have to then and damn near, do what they did, and sick, get in God's face and cry about it, and say, hey, our people have been through this, and lay out the case before the heavenly courts of heaven. And I can assure you, it's coming. Because when he hears that, and the Father sees that distribution going out the land, and he knows that we haven't been done. We don't like to put God in the same sentences as like that. God Almighty himself he know about the racism. He knows about the injustice. He used individuals who were white, who were pastors, who say this, you got to do right by this, and a lot of even they got turned they back on. People left the church because they didn't want to hear that. So every time they refuse to harden their heart and be stubborn, hey, they just gonna be part they're just gonna get whooped. Because I mean, generationally, black people been whooped for 400 years, been oppressed and been accused of stuff for 400 years. We're causing injustice, and they doing it again, simultaneously. Now you have another group of people that wants to play both sides of the aisle, but they really want. It's all about prosperity, resources, and power. Who can we get next to who has the resources and power? What the people that look like who have the resources and power? What do they look like? Who holds the position? Who runs the law? Who runs the judicial system? Who runs the economy? And clearly, ain't too many black people are not in position, so they go with the people that is team, what they call team white supremacy. It's a system, and whoever goes along with it just to turn against black people, the innocent ones who cause no harm, cause no strife, cause no violence, but want to live their life but prosper off of them, and hit the innocent ones who broke no laws in this land, then maybe it's time for God to ask him to bring in the punishment like he punished the nations back then. That he keeps us in his own care. That's the only solution. You know, that's the way it is, you know. But that's the only way. Because I hear a lot of people, and you know, they know that there's been unjust done, and they want to keep dancing around it. They can dance around it. So it's no more dancing around, and they keep persecuting innocent ones. So what they do is just, you need to cry out and pray against them. Speaking black, because you are the original prophets. Then it was your descendants. It's in your bloodline. Some of you have it in your bloodline. You have the power of the voice. You have the power of the connection to cry out to the Father for what is it, justice was done. And so that would be the solution. But at the same time, whatever you ask of the Father, ask him that he protect the innocent ones. And then to hit the ones who are behind the scene, who continue to exploit black people for their own good use. Let them pay the price. That's the only way. Just like they speak it. Because the tongue can be a powerful thing according to the book of James. You can use it the right way, and you can use it the wrong way. But when it comes to justice, it should be justice the right way. And then state your case before the heavenly court and say, hey, they have done wrong. This nation has not done wrong, and they have left black people in the last stuff behind, and continue it. Because God hears your prayers just like he hear any other person. He will hear any other people who individually he will select as his child. This is the truth. So the best thing to do is speak, pray, and pray and prophesy. And if you think that it will go against, that tell the Biden administration, these other people do it right. If they don't want to do the right thing, and as they slither through these things against us, as they try to hide, and then though they reflect and deflect, speak against that. Because they slick with that stuff, man. And they say, well, I'm not president, no, but you don't want to do by the right by the people. So that's how you, that'll be the best way to, that's the best way. Ain't no more, you see young men, young women being harassed. I mean, every day you see something, an innocent person, Sometimes they're not innocent. Then there's some people, there's young people who are black, but the ones who don't choose to do the wrong thing is paying the price. So my question is the ones cry out for the ones who've been justified, unjustified by citizens or police. Speak against it. You know, it's time to heal the nation. No, it's time for heal the nation is one thing, but that's true. You need to heal the nation. But here the thing is, justice and retribution need to be paid. Just like the children of Israel was back then, and they didn't get handouts or little scrabbles. The children of Israel got what was just due because they put 450 years of injustice. They were murdered. They were cut with the Hebrew children. They were told at the time that babies were slaughtered. The women were traumatized, and the men were killed. This is what just like they did to. That's what they did here. They slaughtered the men, some black men, innocent black men who stood up and did the right thing. And whatever the ones they didn't slaughter, they put into prison. And the ones that they doing now that they can't put into prison, they genetically make it so that the male and the female don't coexist. They still playing, and they psychologically doing a war game against you, so that you don't have more popular. They've been trying to do this. So these people been trying to use influence of the TV and the media, and unfortunately there has been some people who are black that have fall for it. So it is what it is, but it don't have to be that way. It's time. You know that you're the people of God, and those who do the right thing, those who believe in Yeshua. It's your duty. It's to pray and take it before the heavenly court that this injustice, and that they won't repent. This is an unrepentant nation. They want to keep the class status like that. Blacks at the bottom, and put other people up under the same thing, and give them. And this is what the Biden administration did. And then when you see that the very people that you have a history, because black people were not always in poverty. Some black people were prosperous in this country. They had their own business. They were educated, but they don't want to keep that out. They don't want to redo the deeds that they burned down towns because of lies. Someone lied and say that a black man touched a white woman. Let alone if you looked at a white woman, you see. Even though it's history, and even though that was a long time ago, but 100 years ago, 60 years ago, 50 years ago, but the spirit of is still in this land. And there's some people who are descended that carry that same spirit of evil that march against the people. Then it's going to happen. That the more injustice that they do against black people, trickery, in all kind of way, they're trying to figure to get rid of us all off the planet. They got another thing coming, because the very people who designed, orchestrated, they have the spirit like I call it a Herod spirit. You know, the spirit, the man that tried to kill Jesus Christ, Yeshua or Mashiach, before he was born. So he said, let's go find. But he came in but he didn't come out and say that he wanted to go find out who this king was. Because Jesus, his story was about to come. It was told thousands and thousands of years that he would be born at that time. So this King Herod want to know where is this child going to be born who's supposed to be king of the Hebrews? Where is this child? So he sent out a mission, because if you find a child, it is so called, don't tell the people that we come to kill the child. We just going to, and the Bible mentioned that they were slaughtering him in Hebrew mother that were born with birth of a Hebrew child, and they would put them in some, and this is in the Bible. This is absolutely in the Bible. So they would put to death until they got to Jesus. So that's why Jesus had to be moved down, and his parents had to move. You know the Christmas story, but they don't tell you the whole story. He wanted to kill this Jesus, who was the Hebrew child. They wanted, because he was supposed his legacy. So what did he do? And so the three wise men were supposed to be sent out, the spies in the land, to find out, to locate where this child was supposed to be at. See, this they don't tell you about this part of the story. That's why the three wise men that's why Herod sent the three wise men. But the three wise men, the Lord Yah, the Almighty God, caught them along the way, and the story was turned. See, Jesus was supposed to be taken out, just like the rest of the Hebrew children. And how does that reflect to the story to this day? There were black people who were supposed to be taken out, and it was called Planned Parenthood. But the founder, said fine, they had to think of a scheme. This was in the 20s and the 30s, when African American, the black population was about to rise. So, but just like the Egyptians in that day, there were people in this country that said, if the black population have more babies than us, then they're gonna take over. So we gotta figure out a way to slow down the population. So you had to go to the how are we gonna do that? How are we gonna go to these black people who clearly is in poverty? We don't want a bunch of poverty, and this spirit goes along to this day. So what they would do is they would go down to the churches in the South and throughout the country, where we're a heavy black population in this country, and they would put a Herod spirit, like, oh, we Christianity, we all Christians, and he was the tactic, and he would tell the young, we don't want, and you have someone like a Margaret Sanger would say, well, we don't, because young people get promiscuous and they get, how young people is, so we have to find a way so we can kind of, that for natural happen, because your children get kind of sexually active. Sound kind of good, right? And Lord know you don't want no 14, 15-year-old young lady pregnant. So they brought this to the black population. It's during that time. And for 70 years, the black population killed off, like they did in the time of the Hebrew children, killed off millions, thousands. But it was up under, this woman used church, Christian moral values. It's a wicked plan, is to take you out. So this is what they've done to black people. They've been trying to figure out a way to cut down the population of black people. This has been the history of it. And if you haven't been through even through crime, even through sterilization, even through food, water, they always weaponize the war. That's why when you go into the inner cities, the water quality ain't so good. So as to keep them oppressed and repressed, like they have done other poor people around the world. Keep them oppressed and repressed. Even though that we live a country like the United States, keep them oppressed and repressed, keep the most horrendous condition that you would see in other places around the world, because that's their whole goal and whole mission. But they think that, but what they do is that they keep the image of a God. This was Caesar Borgia, Jesus Christ, so that you can think that it's okay to stay in that condition. It's okay to be submission. This is the reason why. So, but when I say to black people this day, now when you go back and research all this, and it goes back to the Bible, and you jump up centuries later, they've been doing this for centuries, and from the time of the trans-Atlantic slave, from the time that the prophets were raised, then you be going on the trans-Atlantic slaves that went out to the different parts of the world to hit the nations like America and Europe and different places. You've been put up under conditions, and they continue to keep you in bondage in certain conditions, and they never look, and so they harden up their heart like the pharaohs of the day of Egypt. So God's gonna take the Most High gonna take all that into account. He haven't forgot about you, and I said, but you have power in your voice, and if black people can come as a collectively, you can pray that prayer. That's your last weapon to speak what's in the atmosphere. You may not have the military power, you may not have the financial power, but you have the speaking power to take it for the court and make places like America, starting here, to do the right thing. And if they don't do it like they've done other people, even from other different tribes in Africa, they have not did the right thing. They not retribute. They not have, and you have people that just like they did back then, they were just arrogant. I don't feel like I should pay. So it's like, okay, you don't want to pay? Then let it be known that when the prayers come before heaven, vengeance, prayer for justice and vengeance is coming for those who stood back and agreed, who secretly designed things in the dark against people to keep black people in bondage, keep black people in storage. That's what you do. That's it. That's all you gotta do. You know. That's it. And let God have it. Don't try to do it on your own strength. Don't do it in an alternative way. Pray what I call a justice prayer. A justice prayer. Or a righteous prayer. And pray, present it before the Most High. The Most High. During the time when your people were in Egypt. During the people of that time was in Egypt. We were asking for the same thing that's happened. And those who conspire against the injustice, retribution, that they stole the land, that caused death, destruction, and demobilized in every such a way. Medically, they're doing this by medical, castrating them, sterilizing them with foods and neighborhoods and things like that. So those who have done this, those who have conspired it, to try like they do when you would do animals. You know how these people try different experiment on animals? Well, they do that to black people. So they continue to put the spirit out in poor people. But black people are one of the poor people that they do this to. And so it's time. If you are raised, that's a justice prayer. And make the ones who are doing this and secretly for Satan, ask God and make them pay that price. And if black people come as a collectively to pray against this the ones who do this in this nation, watch what would happen. they're gonna give it up, and God gonna expose it and make it give it up. And every time they heart to heart, it's gonna hit. It could hit their generation. It's already started to hit their generation. And unfortunately, it's hitting innocent ones, like it's hitting innocent black people. It's hitting innocent white people. It's hitting in opioids. They don't want to talk about it. In different areas that maybe had nothing to do with that. But it's letting them know it's hitting them innocent. That's why you go on these major talk shows like Dr. Phil and Dr. Oz, and they can't figure out why these young people, they get hooked on drugs, they overdose in rural Appalachian America. The same thing they designed. Now it's not just our poor white people. Now it's going to be the ones in the urban kids that get hooked on drugs and lost their life. So when their life start being cut off from which they designed this in secret rooms, it's going to come back. It's come back around, but it's going to hit to the people who stood in agreement with this. Because right now, I was seeing an article that when it came to like agricultural and different stuff, like the farmers, because black farmers were getting robbed just as worse. And farmers was getting pretty much bad, black and white. But it was so bad that the food industry was taking advantage of the farmers, some of the white farmers. Some of the white farmers started committing suicide. This was an article a while back. So it would start hitting to white males who don't feel like they can't cope with not feeding their family, not feeding their friends. Some of them start committing suicide. This is fact. So this is part of the curse that it's going to hit not just in the rural area, but it's going to hit them in the urban areas. The kids get on drugs and they start losing their life. Then they start putting these special programs. They're trying to, Narcan and things like that. And those who, the cop has to, you have EMS and police have to risk their lives to save these people in these urban areas who decide to get high and drug overdose. And now that now they can see that destruction that they have put on is at their back door. But that's just a part of it. And it's sad that they can see any innocent person lose their life. But it should send to the message that God's not playing. He has to let the balance of act, because when it came to black people, they put it in the crack neighborhood. That crack neighborhood, so they knew that if they put it in the neighborhood, that destruction would come. Gangs will rise. Young innocent people would lose their life because of guns, drugs. And what you see, and then once let people flee, and so the neighborhood's going down. Once was prosperous, because most black neighborhoods was not looking like the way they are today. But whatever this government has done, local government, state government, whatever, the individuals all the way to the White House, everybody's going to be held accountable for what they've done to black people. The Jim Crow. And you already, so when I'm saying black people, it's come full circle what they've done, and it's gonna hit some of them senators, some of these racist people. It's gonna hit them in the back pocket. Those who laugh behind the cameras and behind the computers, and say, well, they just let themselves by the bootstrap. They're gonna find out what that really is, because it's all the way at the back door. Destruction is all the way at the back door, and and look what's going on now. Some people say it was because they took God out of school. I don't know if that has anything to do with it, but you have a kid that can't cope with life. Some kid that live like a corner, and he goes into some little rural area, urban area like Aurora, Colorado, Arkansas, Washington State, where there's no blacks are at and other groups of people, and one kid goes up and because he's not getting enough attention, and decides that the enemy uses his mind to go and kill and shoot game. But see, the same destruction was started out in the city. So when kids start killing kids in the city, well, that's just a city problem. Now the enemy has used video games with some of these suburban, like Atlanta, out in Connecticut. They're gonna shoot kids in daycare. See, it's coming full circle. What you design is coming back behind your door, and it's more that's coming. So that's why I said every time they have those police officers that shoot innocent black men and black women and children, every time they afflict, their neighborhood's gonna get afflicted. Someone in their neighborhood gonna get afflicted. Destruction's gonna be right at their door. The ones who laugh and speak against black folks, who took part in destructive and it's gonna start happening, because as they see your pain of the Dante Rice, the George Floyds, destruction is going to come to their door. And some of them when there were people out there mocking about how George Floyd and his knee was on their neck, destruction is coming it's going to be in their neighborhood, and they don't even know it. It can come right in where the children's school, they don't even know it. Because anybody know when the real enemy rises up in the person. So you have some people who have been serial killers, starting as children, raised up in their neighborhoods. Could be raised up in any neighborhood, but particularly in their neighborhoods. In the last years, and they killed somebody on ritual. Destruction can come through your neighborhood, but just like how they push it over, and this is these people. It could be somebody in their neck of the woods. Could be a pedophile. Could be a mass murder. You never know. But when you put one on one, it's come back. And I can say to black people, it's coming full circle. And we need to pray that it keeps coming full circle. And he worked with Biden, that he even run his neighborhood. Since he did this they don't want the retribution as far as us, do reparation as far as us. Pray that prayer. That it's going to be that God bring it to the behind this neighborhood, and you don't have enough locked doors, a fence to stop destruction. You can put all the cops in the school, it won't stop destruction. You see what you intended for one people, and you make in the mockery and assassin and other people, it's coming back down. And if black people start speaking like that and say, God, over on a justice prayer, we want justice because this is what has been done to my people, our people, and they have not made it right. They're not trying to make it right. They harden up their heart. They use some people that look just to squash the quarrel. You ain't got to keep begging no more, people. Just pray and prophesy. And lay it on your heart. Cry out to the heavens, just like the ancestors did. Of the ones that were the ancient Hebrews. Cry out on this nation. Cry out. The ones that just laugh behind your back. Cry out and say, oh, you want justice. And those who know to cry out and say justice, You don't have to speak of courage, you just want justice. Justice like the, and ask the Father, just like the way these days of Egypt, the Egyptians need to pay for it. Just like with the other nations that came against Israel, they start paying for it. Just how the secrecies, the secret ways, because they hate it. Everybody has some of these people had conflict with the children with all these ites and stuff like that. And God gave them victory. Well, it's time, black people. When these nations come against you, you pray. Just like the ites did with the Hebrews, and the Hebrews defeated all the ites and all the other Hittites, the Persians, and all the other people. You need to pray that prayer for justice, because we are the people of that book, whether they believe it or not. They can't keep spiritualizing you and trying to see. That's the next thing to do is that they know that they didn't just get behind you and take you down spiritually. That be your doom and your death. But don't let them take you down spiritually. What's something that was put into you and your answer? That was your ancestors speaking that out. But speak it in the justice prayer. Don't have to curse, but in the justice prayer. Put it before the Most High. And those who laugh at destruction of the impoverished neighborhood, which they condition the neighborhoods to be done. They condition and allow the conditions that take a mental oppression that people state of depression and promote it on the TV, promote it in the news, promote it in let other people, let them reward them when they play music, so they continue, so we can self-destruct. Every time these people who've done this, and any of these nations that agree with it and used our people, let it fall back on them. Let it fall back. And if you pray that prayer, watch what's going to happen. Because destruction is coming right back on the ones that are going to get the ones who are responsible, who use, manipulate for their own gain and good. And even the ones that look like you, that turn against you, who conspire, they're going to pay for it. They get part of it. That's all you got to do. All you got to do, that's all you got to pray. Ain't no time dragging feet. That's how I feel about it. But, as far as I was watching some of these videos, and they do it deliberately. They did that deliberately just to anger, and they used your vote. They use you. They use your celebrity. They use your entertainers, and they use it. They say, "Come on, I know they like rap music and da 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 da." So this is what you do. Get before the Most High God, and you pray, you prophesy, and announce, and just keep praying every day, and prophesy and announce, and pray it on the justice prayer. You pray it on the justice prayer, it's going to turn around, because the power of the tongue is in the voice. It's the most mighty weapon. You can bless and you can curse. So that's my solution. My name is James. The next time, consider retribution and reparations for the righteousness of those who do the righteous thing. If not, you know what to do. Pray, announce, prophesy to it. Prophesy to the four corners of the earth that these people who continue to harden up their heart, whether it's in the White House to the State House. That's the only solution till they understand what the pain and injustice is. Till they know. To these individuals who do this, and they know what they do. They have knowledge that they do, but they don't think you have, because to them, when they see somebody who's of a different race and different skin it's different hair texture. They have a sense of high superiority over you because history have told them that. And so they believe what the history has said. So therefore, and the Most High knows. He knows about race. He don't like what he sees, but he sees the injustice. It's up to you to cry before the heavens. That's your last straw. That's the only way it's gonna do it. Protesting ain't gonna do it. Threatening with violence ain't gonna do it. Whooping out guns ain't gonna do it. That's not gonna do it. For your justice, for yourself as a people, because they're gonna find some way to manipulate. They're gonna find some way to deny. They're gonna find some way to duck and hide. They're gonna find some way to point and deflect and reflect. So now, put it in Most High God's hands. Let him and step away. And that's what black men and black women need to do. Black children. That's it. They have slapped you in your face. They've used your voting point. They use you in entertainment. They use you in sports. They use you in every type of way. And they said, okay, that's not. Thank you for beating our quota. That's it. We got out of you. Now go back into the poverty. So okay, and they think that it's gonna keep going like this. It's like, okay, it's time. So just sit back and wait, pray, announce, prophesize. And there's all the protesting. You can scream to the holler to the cows come home, and then you'll find somebody else to try to use some type of manipulation tactic, and don't let nobody use you, whether it's on the left side or the right side, trying to use that. Stay grounded as spiritually people. That's the best advice. I don't care if it's left wing, right wing, Democrat, Republican. That don't matter. Because sometimes you come and see it's all the same bird, because they don't want to see you get retribution. They don't want to see you get reparation. You know, some think they do say, well, they'll acknowledge that there's injustice, but they don't. They think it's just history, and then use someone else's excuse. Well, these people over here should get retribution, yeah, but you haven't did it to these people. Well, the people over there, because they went over in Europe. What about the people here? Well, the people over here, no, not anymore. So that'd be the suggestion. Pray. You've done all the protesting. They love seeing you in pain. They don't think they're above the pain. Some of them think that they're above the pain, the persecution. Now they'll flip in their neck of the woods. Those who laugh at it, God see who's laughing, who's making snide remarks. He knows what the individuals are doing it. He knows the ones that don't want to stand for righteousness, don't want to do the right thing. He knows. So hey, you get to the point that you're gonna get fed up and get used, and what you gonna do? That's one of the major things, and seek the Most High on what to do, the next thing to do. So my name, again, sorry, went on as long, but that'd be the solution. That's the solution. It's a safe solution. You ain't putting out no curse. You asking for justice for your people. And the ones who conspire against your people, whether it's someone that look like you or someone that don't look like you, you're asking the Most High to get vengeance. Till next time, Yangs, take care.